Hello, everyone. Welcome to Justice Serve Daily. I hope that everyone is doing okay. And as you know, we constantly have updates going on lately about the Delphi case. And I know that there has been a lot of information going on and a lot of research that people have been doing. And I just wanted to go on and share some big stuff today. So we're going to take a look at that. We found out that Richard Allen actually sent a letter to the judge asking for uh, basically the mercy of the court. So we're going to go over the letter that was sent and the actual document that confirms that it was sent to. So I wanted to make sure that we show all proof and stuff of that too. And it's just been crazy. We've been looking into a lot of stuff in regards to the case and information on Richard Allen himself, on connections that is out there that we know of, and others that we're checking on. And we have found out quite a bit of information. So I want to be able to share that with you. So let's go ahead and take a look first at we'll look at the confirming document first, and I'll show that to you. So let me go to share my screen. And yes, I want to do that. Entire screen. Here we go. And allow. And let's go ahead and look at the images here. Okay, so first, I'm just going to show you the confirming that this was received to just show proof that this letter is for real. And it is floating around all over the place out there. So if you look in the court record, it'll show the special assignments when things are issued to the judge. Any type of communication that goes on with the case is recorded here. So the new information about the new judge is listed here. But what we're looking at is, if you look down in the middle here, I don't know if you can see my mouse or not. Hopefully. November 9th, they show correspondence to/from court filed, a correspondence received from defendant requesting appointment of public defender. So let's go look at what that was. Take this one down. Hold on one second. Hello, Miss Amy. Oh, I think I lost her. Okay, let's go to the other image here real quick. All right, and Amy, if you want to join, as soon as I leave this screen, I'll be able to click you in. So, all right, so it is not the perfect copy because it's not an original, it's handwritten. And I'm going to try to even enlarge it a little bit for my blind eyes. So as you can see, it's to the Carroll Circuit Court. It tells his court number, the case number. And it says, in the case listed above, I, Richard Allen, hereby throw myself at the mercy of the court. I am begging to be provided a legal, let me make sure, I want to make sure I get this right, assistance in a public defender, whatever help this is available. And so he's saying that at his initial hearing, that on October 28th, I asked to find representation for myself, and said, however, at that time I had no clue how expensive that would be just to talk to someone. He said, also did not realize that my wife and I's immediate financial situation was going to be, we had both have been forced to immediately abandon their employment, quit their jobs, in himself due to incarceration, no kidding. And my wife, for her personal safety, she has had to move from our home for her safety, and basically talking about what little reserve there is will fail to maintain, basically obtain my counsel. Again, I throw myself on the mercy of the court. Please provide me whatever assistance you may. Thank you for your time in this matter. Urgent matters. Sincerely, Richard M. Allen. If you go down here, it is showing confirmation. Mailed to the Carroll Circuit Court. And sorry, that thing is blurry as heck. So we know that he did not have an attorney. He was going to go get his own. And so we know that nothing can progress until that happens. So I know the word out was that, Keegan's not, or I'm sorry, slip of the tongue. Richard is not cooperating after he had first been arrested within those first 72 hours, which is not a shock. At all. Hello. Sorry about that. I don't know if I messed up you joining earlier or not.
I think I messed it up, but sorry, I'm joining late.
No, that's okay. We just finished looking at the court document that confirmed the request that was received by Richard Allen, and then the actual letter that I tried to read in its fuzzy format that, a copy from a copy that everybody's throwing around. Right. So was just talking about that, that we knew that in the first 72 hours that they shared that, he wasn't cooperating, which is not a surprise because he didn't have any attorney yet. And in his mind, he's going to go out there. I'm going to go get my own attorney, right? I want better than a public defender. And basically, to this letter, we find out he did some searching, and guess what? He found out that's pretty expensive to do.
Yeah, go figure.
Yeah, it is quite expensive. So now that we know that they received this, and on the 9th, they're, informed that he needs an actual attorney,
Right.
then, you know, hopefully, I mean, the hope would be is that they would get this attorney for him, and maybe after that happens, they're going to start talking.
Right.
Going
I
to
would
start talking.
imagine so. And they'll need access to the charging documents, the PC and all that. I do wonder if he's seen it, and if he hasn't seen it, then definitely that court-appointed attorney will have their hands on it and go over it with him, so they can at least begin a conversation, because it sounds like he's had 0 conversations from with a legal representative. So yeah, that's it's an interesting letter he wrote there. And I was wondering where in my case, you probably showed it, but what court? Like, I know that there's a new judge, and I was unaware of how that happens when the state of Indiana puts a special judge in place due to the recusal of Judge Diener. So where does the documentation go? Where does it get scanned in? What clerk, the clerk of what court enters that? I found it on courts.indiana.gov, the procedural issues of when there is a change of judge for a criminal case and how that goes. And so it makes sense on my case for Allen's charges, where it's displayed in the public summary view, that it's still all going to Carroll County.
Yeah, before the November 9th date showing that the court is acknowledging correspondence from Richard Allen asking for a public defender. On November 5th, it shows the special judge assigned, and then it shows November 4th of Nicholas Charles McLeland, right? Mm-hmm. So
he's the prosecutor. Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's the only thing that happens prior to that. And the dates and stuff from it. So everything else after that is just showing the hearing date, which is November 22nd, in regards to the probable cause affidavit and whether it will be released, public access, whether it'll be a very redacted release, which I would think so. And then it shows our January 13th judicial officer pretrial conference, and then a jury trial starting March 20th of 2023. And then it has the 21st, the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 24th all blocked off for jury trial.
I figure for making out court docket in advance, they have to go ahead and schedule that, especially because of protecting his rights to a speedy trial, that they project that out into the future and go ahead and schedule that, because he could waive his rights now. Once he gets an attorney, I'm sure there'll be lots of hearings, or not maybe even hearings, but just probably some motions go through the court for him to, he'll have to probably waive his right to a speedy trial. Maybe he doesn't want to. I don't know. I mean, that's up to them, but I would imagine they could have that come into play pretty soon, where he might waive his right to a speedy trial, and then those dates could change. There might be all manner of motions being filed once he has a public defender. There might be a flurry of paperwork, so to speak.
Yeah, I would hope that maybe my wish is that when he gets an attorney in there, and the attorney maybe says, and we don't know, but says, you know what, they'll take the death penalty off the table if you plead guilty and share everybody who's involved. And,
Mm-hmm.
I think he's not going to take any kind of deals without talking to an attorney.
Oh, absolutely not. That would be so dumb.
Yeah, he's going to wait and find out what the attorney thinks is, best for him to do, and what he can
Right.
get. We do have the death penalty here in
Right.
Indiana, and
Now he
it's interesting.
it's if that's even offered, because I'm sure the prosecuting attorney's office is having conversations with the families and seeing, they'll have to go through discovery and so much stuff that maybe once discovery is shared, there might be something there. I wonder if they would use him to become, a source of information, if they feel like if there's another individual that, they need more proof of involvement with another individual in the case, then it will be interesting to see if any bargains are made that way, or if it's just a full-on first degree murder, or I mean, it's felony murder, but you wonder how things
Yeah,
might get adjusted, or the charges might kind of change as information that as the prosecution has its case getting ready to submit to the court and all that.
I think if the pause of or the continued open of the case is due to picking up somebody else, I
Mm-hmm.
think then they would try to offer a deal. I
Yeah.
think if they need to get somebody else in addition to, and I only say that because the way the murder charge is of the 2 counts of murder, that the intention of murder may have not been there, but he could have been there intentionally to commit another crime like child molestation, rape,
Mm-hmm.
the whole list
Right.
of things.
Right. They
And if
wouldn't have to nail him on the murder per se, but that he had other crimes that led to that. So the felony murder charges would cover that.
yeah,
So the proof would be in involvement in a felony, in a crime that was leading up to the murder, whether or not it was by his hand or someone else's. Yeah. But they seem to be,
yeah, and
from
I mean, in
everything,
my
I think they're talking about him being the one, though.
yeah, I guess in my gut feeling and theory is that I feel like the way we got him, in my opinion, because I can't ignore some of the stuff, um, is Keegan Klein. I feel like that he gave it up, and that we have information that he shared, and what we're looking at is after them having moved Keegan to Indiana State custody, talking to him for a few days. He gives some information. They go search the river for 6 weeks. They find
Right.
something, but we don't know what. And then within a couple of weeks of that, suddenly Richard Allen's arrested.
Right.
So, in my opinion, it's like I can't ignore that all of those went down.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like uh, the other parts of this is that, did if Keegan, I feel like we can't ignore that Keegan was involved in the sense that he admitted to setting up an Anthony Shots profile. And we know by documents that the Anthony Shots profile was speaking to Libby the day of the murders,
Right.
and responded to a friend of theirs stating that he was supposed to meet her at the bridge, but she never showed up.
Yeah.
So that to me connects Keegan Klein in that avenue. And then of course Keegan saying he was sitting in a vehicle waiting. So was
Hmm.
Keegan Klein waiting for Richard Allen, or was he waiting for an additional person
Hmm.
sitting
Or
out there?
there to pick something up or drop something off that was
Right,
part of the crime that happened.
right.
And I wonder, this is just kind of a thought experiment, but if we're talking about devices that have the Anthony Shots profile or the Emily Ann or the Hannah Rossdale, whatever the other, there are a few others, but those accounts known to be the phishing accounts and the CSAM accounts associated with Keegan, directed to the IP address there in Peru where he shared a house with his dad. So that specific thing. What if those devices, okay, is it possible that Richard could have done either one of those things you just said? Could Richard have used the Anthony Shots account? Is it plausible in any way that Richard could have used that account for one of Keegan's devices that Keegan gave him, and also being uh, logged into that account later, been the one to answer the question about I was supposed to meet her that day and she didn't show up? Right? How would you prove the hands behind that cell phone
I mean, I guess
on those particular occasions?
that's kind of the problem at all overall, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
even if you limited it only to the access of Tony and Keegan, that's where the police would have trouble identifying it. They can say to Keegan, like they did, we think there's more than one voice speaking to this person back and forth in the communications. But
Hmm.
at the time, they're like, well, we can't tell if that's Keegan or if that's Tony, right? Because it's in the same IP address, it's using the same Anthony Shots, and it's using devices that they used, which they had, well, Keegan had tons of, and his dad was using some. And this is all based on testimony from Keegan and what he was admitting. But I
Right.
think the other reason, and definitely Richard could be using the Anthony Shots because you got to believe that Keegan is a liar. So
Hmm.
if he says it's only me and my dad, or whatever, he is a liar. So you could believe that's untrue. But then you can also believe untrue that, I mean, I feel like I still kind of have a feeling and a bias, I guess, now at this point that Tony is involved somehow. Um, and I feel like if Keegan did say, uh, is saying I'm out there waiting, why would Keegan drive to Delphi, look up a gas station, and go sit there and wait for Richard, maybe to pick up, maybe to drop off? That's in my other thoughts of what he could be there to do. Why would he be there for Richard? Why would he be there for this 50-year-old man that he's not instilled the age group for? Why would he be there for a man who is in walking distance from his own home and
Hmm.
his own job within minutes
Right.
after committing the crime? Now, if Keegan was there to drop off a second person, which in my mind, I just feel like the only person Keegan would maybe put his butt out there for is his dad.
Yeah.
But even if he says his dad, you can't use Keegan Klein's word as proving that somebody committed a murder because he's a known liar.
So to know whether he's telling the truth or not, he's going to have to back up his doubtful words, right? And so maybe that's why there is a river search. That's why things started moving in the case in the way and the timeline that it did, indicating that he's not just blowing smoke, he's got something to back it up, right? Because you would need that.
Right.
You would need somebody like him. You got to back up whatever you're saying, and then perhaps that there was enough found or enough whatever happened there to act on it. It is interesting. Yeah, who else would he do that for other than his dad? And I'm confused as to why it would be so much just Keegan and Richard because, okay, let's see, Richard is 50. Keegan's what, 26, 27, 28, somewhere around there, mid to late
Yeah.
20s. And and Tony's what, 55, 54, somewhere around there. So
I think
Tony and
53-ish.
Richard would have more of a, so, I would think there would be more of a friendship or a connection there somehow. It would make more sense. I mean, I don't know what, other than the fact that they share a sick interest, perhaps. We have no proof or evidence of Richard being involved in any of Keegan's CSAM stuff, but I mean, perhaps that's what would bring someone, two guys of different generations that seemingly probably wouldn't have any connection other than a perversion like that.
Yeah. Well, and so that kind of also brings to the discussion of um, like a little bit of the research that we've done in trying to find uh, connections and things like that, and kind of share a little bit of what we have found and been able to find. And we do know that um, Richard Allen's wife's family lived in Peru.
Mm-hmm.
And, um, looking into that, you've got her brother who had passed away, a brother who passed away suddenly unexpected, which is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But he was younger, he was a younger man, and he passed away in 2016 of a motorcycle accident in Peru. Um, and he graduated from Peru High School.
Yeah.
So when you talk about did Richard Allen have a connection to them? Yes, we have in common things that we can find that as far as where Richard Allen's families have lived in the past, in Mexico, Indiana, in other places, we have members of the Klein family that are in those areas too,
Mm-hmm.
that we found. But we also have found, obviously, a connection with her side of the family in Peru. And so, I don't think it's too far to say that, they can know each other very easily, in Peru, if maybe even just the coincidence of her brother, hangs out and goes rides his bike and stuff someplace and could be where
Well,
Tony.
yeah. Tony rides a motorcycle. Richard's brother-in-law, who passed away in 2016, rides a motorcycle. Um, the Peru
Peru.
family, both, the Peru family connections, similar, similarities in age. Um, there's also the race car stuff too. I know that it was mentioned in her
Right.
brother's obituary that he liked sport race cars, and we know all about Tony and Keegan and stuff with their interests in race cars and race car drivers. So I mean, they would share some similar interests, especially, well, hanging out in bars, drinking, that kind of thing. Plus, these are small towns. You're going to bump into people anyway. You're just going to. So
Yeah.
there's got to be some kind of proof, though, of a connection we don't have. I would think. Otherwise, the case would have been closed. They would have found their guy. This would have been it. Keegan would go to jail for a long, long time for his CSAM garbage, possibly also with some charges related to the murders because of his involvement with the Anthony shots. And then, Richard would just rot in jail until he dies, right? If he's, guilty of the charges, which we don't know. But they've left it open. They've kept the tip lines open. There's something. There's another something. I have a feeling it might be another accomplice, right?
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
kind of hard
And
to pin him down. He's hard to prove, maybe.
yeah. And so I'm looking at the chat, and Patty was saying, wasn't Keegan supposed to meet Libby somewhere, but she did not show up, possibly meeting place at the gas station. Just wondering, no facts. Patty, we don't know necessarily that it was Keegan. We do know it's whoever was speaking is Anthony Schatz at the time. So Anthony Schatz was communicating with her and asking to meet, and then they went out there. So they did realize that, and they did realize that communication that was going on. They went back and forth in trying to ping phones, check locations and things like that of where the Kleins were, and where their phones were pinging. But it can also be assumed that they could leave their actual devices that are registered to them at home and maybe use a throwaway phone when they go, because they don't want to be located. And so they do know of that. They brought that up to Keegan Kline inside the interview with him, that we were like, okay, we know you spoke to him, blah, 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 blah. Keegan didn't confirm that. He just, said to them that it was Anthony Schatz.
Right.
And so his comments, and again, he's a liar, but his comments were, I wouldn't have scheduled to meet them. Well, that's not necessarily true, because we know he met up with a girl before like that, from
Right.
her own. But he met up as Keegan. He didn't meet up as Anthony Schatz. So the Anthony Schatz thing is new. Remember, he did not decide to create Anthony Schatz profiles and information until July of 2016. That's when those accounts started. And so when July of 2016, he creates the accounts. Then they track till, I believe it was November or December, that communications started with Libby and other friends. So normally if somebody is committing or trying to commit CSAM, they don't get in with just one friend. They get in with multiple friends. And the reason they do that is because if I know Amy and you guys don't know Amy, but you're friends with me, and you're like, oh, well, Amy requested a friend request, and she's a very nice person. I'll tell you that right now. But if she asks you friend request, you may be like, well, I don't know Amy. And then you go look and go, well, wait a minute. I see that JSC is friends with her, and so is this person I know, and so is this person. Okay, I'm going to accept her friendship. You did that out of trust because you have friends that have accepted her as a friend. That's how the CSAM works. They sit here and go get as many girls to know them, and boys to know them. And the more they get, the more they can get, because that it spreads out farther and farther.
It's a fishing expedition with the intention of, that trust, building the trust, right? The manipulation with showing up in somebody's populated friends list, like, oh, here's this hottie. This guy is so hot, and he's friends with so and so. Okay, well, I'll talk to him. Sure, yeah, like just like you said, that's part of the fishing. It's disgusting.
Yeah. So we don't know about that. And honestly, I don't believe. I mean, to see that an Anthony Schatz responded to her friend later when her friend goes to everybody, oh, they're missing. Have you seen them? And then this Anthony Shots response to that friend saying, oh, well, I was going to meet with her, but she didn't show up. Okay, first of all, is that the dumbest reply you've ever
Mm-hmm.
heard in your life? To even that Anthony Shots, whoever was talking there, put themselves right in the stupid middle of it, right there.
Oh, well, yeah. Unless that was a tactic because they were thinking that they were being smart by putting that out ahead of finding any incriminating stuff, right? He's probably
Yeah,
thinking, oh shit, I've talked to this person so much and they're gonna figure me out, so let me just go ahead and give a plausible version of the truth. I was supposed to meet her, but she didn't show up. It wasn't me, because you might have pinged my location, or somebody that knew might have snitched already or will snitch. I'm going to, hedge my bets and cover my bases, and I'm going to say this dumb thing. But, maybe to them it was smart. I don't know.
yeah. So I don't know how to say what your name is, but it's GWOT alumni. Do you know what GWOT means? Does that stand for something? I don't know.
Good woman of truth. I don't know. I just made that up. I don't know.
But that's her, GWOT alumni, if that's not you. So saying, what if they were all in CSAM group and not for money, but just sharing amongst each other? They could have worked together. Or Richard went rogue, and Tony and Keegan went to Vegas for advice on cleanup.
Sure.
So if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I believe that CSAM is all wrapped up in this, and that I believe there's a CSAM group that will probably be announced in a big bust, in my opinion, as an operation by the FBI, because we have dropped so many of these people, and so many have been arrested since Keegan Klein was found out, which I think they were watching stuff and things like that. And also, I've shared that we've had an international child porn ring busted in Indiana before. If you haven't seen that, go watch those videos later. I do think there's CSAM. I don't think a man. Let's pretend that Richard wasn't going there for murder for a minute. Let's say, here's what's bad. Maybe the good news is he was only going there to try to attempt to sexually assault them, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's on the good side. I don't think somebody who decides to go do that to a 14 and 15-year-old has not looked at any type of CSAM material.
13,
And
they're 13 and 14, aren't they, at the time?
were they 13, 14?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I don't know. We look at so many cases. We've got too many numbers going.
Yeah, it may be one case versus the other. But if you sit here and you look at that, you've got that covered. I think that the rush to Vegas could have been a couple of things. If they're sharing images, they could have been going out to share that image with somebody in Vegas that they wanted to. If they were trying to get out of Dodge because they didn't want to be seen, caught, or associated, then that's the reason that they took off and left. So, there's lots of reasons and stuff for that. I think that, Richard Allen could be connected in the CSAM. They could have even tracked him from CSAM and found him that way. So, that could be, the other reason that, they located him. We don't know.
Right. Well, U.S. Marshals were definitely involved, and that's one of their things they do. So, they track down those kind of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I think that the other thing that we need to look at is, I'm trying to change my screen here, that we need to, consider all the reasons and ways that they could have got Richard. The other thought process came. I know lots of people are going hard on the family. But the other thing could be is that his wife could have even turned him in.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're
What
just
is
not
that?
sure, have that go in there. It is a dog outside my house,
That's
and their little
cute.
dog barks like crazy. He thinks he's an alpha dog, and
But he's
usually that's his
tiny.
sign he wants my dogs to play. Yes, he's very
Right.
little. So I'm sorry.
No, it's
That's not
cute.
me
It's fine.
barking. Let me say that. That's not me barking. Sorry, I didn't know if you
Well,
guys
the
could hear it.
Vegas,
Seems loud here. But
what you were saying about Vegas too is somewhere in there, Kagan had said to investigators, it was probably in that interrogation document, where he had said he was meant to go out to Vegas, right? And there was going to be a deal where he was going to make a lot of money. But the person, is, allegedly for weed. And okay, Kigan, you're a big time weed dealer and you're going to make what, $10,000 on this trip to Vegas. But the guy that was supposed to supply you failed. And that made you afraid of your friend that you were supposed to deliver the weed to. Right. Like he was some kind of middleman, is the way he tried to make it sound. And the person he was depending on or whatever happened, it fell through. And he was afraid of, I don't know if it was friend one or two, because in the document, it's redacted and you get them confused the way he does it, but the way he talks about it. But anyway, one of his connections that was in Las Vegas. And oh, I need to get on mod. I'm sorry. I got to get something here off your stream, or maybe you can do it if you've got the stream pulled up. I can't do it from in here. Do you see it?
okay, I'm looking.
But I'm wondering if he was just saying it was a weed deal that went wrong, that he wasn't able to make the connection with the person that he was supposed to profit, make a ton of money or whatever. What else went wrong, maybe allegedly, before Keegan was supposed to go to Vegas? I mean, that's a terrible thought. None of us like to think it. It's been out there, though, for a while in terms of a theory of a snuff film or of, that level of kind of black market material for highly depraved individuals to purchase. And if there's any way to kind of wash your hands of where money is being exchanged, certain goods that are illegal and bad people doing shady things, maybe that's what that was supposed to be. That's just pure speculation. I've kind of thought that in the back of my mind, that weed deal sounded weird that he was talking about in the interrogation.
Yeah.
Because we know he will deny something, then he'll give half of the truth on that topic later, and then he'll give a little bit more information, revealing a little bit more truth. And so I think he might be giving a version of the truth with that little talk that he gave about why he was afraid of his friend in Vegas, or what was upsetting him about that deal that went bad. I highly suspect it was not just like a very profitable pot deal.
Yeah.
Come on, man. He also said he was in a pot delivery service that was a monthly subscription for the elderly of Las Vegas. Are you kidding me?
What service to the community? I mean, unbelievable. I'm sure proud.
This was before DoorDash, so maybe he, honestly, if I were elderly living in Vegas, I probably wouldn't want to go get my monthly pot. But I don't think that business is, that's not legit what he's talking about. I don't think he had a monthly pot subscription business. I think he was involved in something to do with that. But I mean,
I wonder what kind of tip you give to the pot delivery person. Is it like 10%, 20%, half an ounce?
I think you just have to smoke with them for a bit and then they'll leave. I think that's all. You just have to burn down for a bit and then you're good. I don't think it's a tip is expected. They just want to know you're not like undercover.
Yeah, exactly. So quickly, for the ones who just joined us, welcome. and to make sure that we're, let me see, I think I can still do it. Yeah, I can. We are been looking at information that came out, and here is, first of all, the court information um, that is confirming the letter, which we'll glance at real quick. This confirmation shows the date of November 9th, that a correspondence was received to the court, and the correspondence received from defendant requesting appointment of a public defender. And if you remember, at first he was asking that he gets his own person, right? He just wanted his own guy. And then in this letter here, he's basically saying, hey, I need the mercy of the court. I found out how much it costs to go talk to a defendant, just to talk to him. He says it's very expensive. He says that his wife and him have both had to leave their jobs. Him because he's incarcerated. I don't know how we're supposed to feel sorry for that. Mm-hmm. And then his wife, due to her safety, and also him talking about the house, which is, they've abandoned because of her safety as well. And let me just say here, do not encourage any violence or repercussions against the family members, meaning the spouse or the children. We do not know the circumstances there. We do not know if the family was in abusive situation. We do not know if maybe even the family turned him in. To be honest with you, I've kind of even thought about that myself as our justice group have been looking at stuff. I've kind of wondered if she had been trying to give some hints based on the emails that I did see, or I'm sorry, Facebooks that I did see. So he sent this, and as you can see, it's dated that it was filed on November 9th. And then I'll enlarge this down here. This is the confirming mail envelope showing the postmark that it went to the Carroll Circuit Court. And it shows that at the time it was for the White County Jail. So, yeah, that's where we are with that. So that was a very interesting information. I think and feel like we can have more movement with this case once he gets an attorney.
Yes.
I
want him to have a good defense. I hope that the defense attorney is good, and it's not it's only just because we don't want him to claim he had ineffective counsel later on or some kind of technicality in the court system. We want this to go well and for both sides in court to do a good job. And I think hopefully he can find somebody that will be beneficial to the case and for Libby and Abby getting justice, for it to just go well in court.
Right.
And that includes him having a good defense,
Yeah, I think that, you can't expect him to talk in the first 72 hours if he does not have an attorney.
Right.
So if he doesn't have an attorney, it's not going to happen.
And that may be what was meant by who knows what the wording exactly refers to with he was uncooperative. Like the rumor was that he was cooperative in the beginning of police contacting him, and then it became where he was uncooperative. And true crime people have seen enough of that to know kind of the way that usually looks, where he's going to request an attorney, and that may be the uncooperative portion where he's not speaking because he doesn't have representation. So therefore it's, there's no further communications in terms of the investigation and proceeding, like what you said. So we hope somebody gets in there and can get the ball rolling.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, the other thing that, is going on that, we've kind of talked about is our different theories and stuff. We've done some looking into as much as we can. I'm going to say that one of the reasons there's a lot of things that people can't find, especially like the real serious, gets down in depth things and even items that we use to look up people. I think that the reason that is because I feel like that, the police could have had stuff taken down. Because if you look, I don't know if Richard Allen had a Facebook page, but if he did, it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody else in the family that we have also noticed, the 2017 is gone. It's not even there. So even if they reduced it, there's not even anything during 2017 that's appearing as far as activities and stuff are concerned.
Right.
So, but we do know that there easily can be a connection that possibly that the Kleins and them knew each other just because of many, many coincidences that are going on where Alan has family in similar small towns that Klein does, that his wife, Alan's wife, had family in Peru. She had a brother in Peru who died, unfortunate for the family, and who died of a sudden motorcycle accident actually in Peru, and really talked about how he loved his motorcycle, how he loved racing, car racing, and then being in that town. It just seems very easily that they could have crossed paths, even later on as adults, if they did not cross paths earlier on.
Yes.
So
it could be just a pure digital connection. Okay, it could really be that through mutual online friendships or acquaintances. I don't know how these CSAM rings operate, but they could perhaps have a way of signaling to each other, right? And then they understand, they share that in common, or links can be shared, information shared and transmitted where they bump into each other in this type of group, and that's how they connect. It will be very interesting to see the digital trail from how all of that unfolds from Kegan's stuff and how it's connected, because like you've noticed, we've seen a lot of stuff go down just based off of an assumption, but probably a pretty safe assumption, that child predators are being caught in droves in Indiana, and that's, his Dropbox was heavily populated with those kind of guys. So
yeah. And Scott, I agree with you. That's why I was saying we need to be careful, and people need to not look at blaming the family. We don't know the situation. We don't know what's out there. We don't know what that family was going through. So we need to,
it doesn't
be aware
involve
of,
them, right?
right. They're
It
not
doesn't involve
arrested.
them.
They're not, they haven't said that they knew anything. They haven't said anything from that. We don't even know if the family members could have turned them in. We don't know what the situation is. So, outreaching, I heard and saw some stuff about people going and threatening, their kid, their the wife, the, parents, all this stuff. What good does that do? What good does that do? I
Nothing.
think,
It's totally misdirected anger, and it's disgusting, and it's a mob mentality. I think people on Facebook and these different places where you see these nasty comments, they just lose the ability to uh, get in touch with that moral compass, like with their filter there. It's like they're misplacing their anger on the family. That's not right. It's disgusting, actually. And to make anybody feel afraid, that's it's really immature.
yeah, I don't understand the mentality of going after people that way. I don't get it. But yeah, I sit here and I think that the other part that we are going to get closer, hopefully, to maybe him speaking, maybe him listening to a defense attorney who will now come in and say, you know what? Because in my opinion, this is what I feel that happened to Keegan, right? I feel like that they went in and they said to Keegan, in my opinion, speculation warning, big speculation warning. I think they came in and I think they said to him, what? You're going to be charged with first degree murder because Anthony Schatz was the last person to speak to them. And you've already admitted that you created Anthony Schatz. You're the only guy we have on that. So you're going to take the fall for it if you don't start telling us what you know. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to give you a deal on your CSAM stuff, 30 counts. And you're going to go away and you're going to get the death penalty in first degree murder. And I think that that's when Keegan, after being in jail for 2 years, was like, okay, I'm going to start telling what I can. And he had to give them some type of proof. Mm-hmm. And I think that whatever type of proof that he was telling the truth was about something in the river. Mm-hmm. And so they had to go search. And they had to believe, like hell, right, that something was in there or they would have not looked for 5 weeks. It wouldn't have happened. So he tells them this. And by the way, remember, he was removed from his custody into Indiana State Police custody when this was all going on. When this was happening.
The rumor was, too, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure the source, so I'm sorry, I guess this is speculation. I've heard it in several places that he was taken to Air Force Base. Is that correct?
Grissom Air Force Base.
And he was questioned by people, more, some specialized individuals. So that all happened this summer in this certain chain of events that just, you can't deny that they're related. They said that the river search was related to Delphi. That was in the news, those news broadcasts.
Right.
And we have information of Kegan talking, from the murder sheet. We have the information of Kegan revealing he was at the marathon in a vehicle as a passenger waiting during the time of the murders. He did say it was during the time of the murders, I believe.
Yeah.
Is what was reported. And if he's willing to put himself in Delphi that day, he has no business being there. We've all agreed on that. And he has no he has no reason to be there.
And let's point out, the other thing is that he had to Google where that gas station was in order for him to find where he was going.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we know that because the police revealed that they saw him search for that on his phone. So we've got the Anthony Schatz that he created profile that spoke to the girls, I want to meet you here. Mm-hmm. And then we have him put himself there in a vehicle waiting. So that means to me then he's saying who else is involved, right? We know that somebody else is involved.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, in my opinion, because I think it was too sudden that Richard Allen came on the radar like he did. So there's lots of theories on that. And this is definitely a theory and speculation. But my theory, because of the order of the way things happened, the order of Klein being moved, Klein talking to state police, River being searched, then them going and busting him. Mind you, that they busted him. They went there. They served this raid search warrant for 12 hours. And the arrest warrant was then brought on site to then take him into custody. The only reason that sits unusual to me is if you've watched any of the cases like about the international child petty ring, or that was busted in Indiana before, or the ones that have been busted since Keegan Klein has been arrested, which I have another video on, then you notice that they serve these search warrants, and then even though they may find some CSAM, they leave and then have to go through all the evidence, and then they come back later and arrest this person. That's not what they did with Allen. You know what I mean? They went in, they started searching. We hear of things that are leaving the house. We hear a vehicle left the house, not both of the cars, one of the cars gets taken, and he's put in handcuffs, arrested. So I think that, their desire could have been that when they had him arrested for those first 72 hours, which they can, before they reveal what he's arrested for, that they were saying to him and talking to him to see if he would plead guilty. And the first words out of his mouth were probably, "I want an attorney," right? I'm being charged with murder. I want an attorney. So they couldn't get him to go ahead and say, "You're right, I did it, blah, 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 blah," whatever. But I think our chances are better as soon as this, or I'll just put it, I think our chances are possible that he could end up confessing for a deal. And I think the only thing they would need from him, if they would offer it, is only because they're taking somebody else down. And that's because I'll share my bias. In my opinion, I just don't feel that Keegan Klein would have waited in a vehicle to help Richard Allen out and be at a gas station that sits directly from basically down from where the CVS is. Because I feel like Richard could have walked home or to work, to where his vehicle was parked. It wouldn't have mattered either way. He could get there. He didn't need a ride home. But who would Keegan Klein put his butt on the line for to do that? And yes, it absolutely could have been CSAM related, because maybe the intention going there wasn't for murder. Maybe they were going to sexually assault the girls and thought they wouldn't say anything, but they put up a fight. And then during the fight, somebody pulls out a weapon, which we know is not the gun, because nobody heard gunshot. That's not what was used. And the girls got killed. And based on the Richard Allen charges, then you wonder, because it says they don't have to prove he committed murder, but he was there to commit a felony. Child molestation, rape, any of those.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know I have that bias there. But I am trying to be open-minded. Lots of ideas and stuff have been thrown out there of how Richard Allen could have been caught and turned in. He could have been linked to the CSAM, and they eventually caught his username, right? Or he could have had his family turn him in. There's lots of reasons.
And it's still possible he could have been, a lone wolf. I would say that's on the outside of possibility, the outside chances, but still there is a chance. That would be a terrible, horrible coincidence that all that catfishing and garbage with the Anthony Shots account and what Kagan was up to and the girls that day, and then there was also just a maniac killer right there. I mean, that's a huge mental leap to get up past, but it is in the realm of possibility that it's unrelated. But I just don't think so at all. Um, that's just, I think that's probably the majority of people's opinion, but I could be wrong. I don't know how big
Yeah.
the lone wolf theory community is on this one, really, but I just don't. Taking in totality the whole situation, the whole picture, you can't just ignore the last 5 years for what's happened in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
I
um,
I think that I mean, Amy, in my opinion, of course, there's been a lot of people have tried to say is bridge guy, is bridge guy, is bridge guy. I mean, I've always said that I didn't think the video as far as a face identification was very good for anybody. And I definitely thought that the sketches kind of became confusing for the public, um, the way it was. But when you do look at the blue jacket that we have photos of Richard Allen in November and December of 2016, the look of him, um, the gape and kind of, I guess I'd call it kind of a limp, um, or, just side favoring maybe if he walked. Um,
short
that
man walk. It's like
he looks
short
like.
man bridge walk. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I definitely think that's him, though. It really looks like his
We've
picture, that
seen,
jacket.
yeah, we've seen his pictures, and we saw his disturbing pool hall antics in that video. I mean, people that have seen those things probably can say, yeah, I mean, just in terms of body shape, right? Um, his, his legs, the way his pants kind of pull at his ankles on the bridge, right? Those jeans are kind of baggy, and the length on them, even despite Bridge Guy having probably boots on, right? And it's the fact that he was able to maneuver across the bridge so quickly. The dude was like leaping around like an idiot um, at the pool hall. For a squat man, he can kind of move.
Yeah. So love God so much. Yes, I do think when you take the weapons, you mean to kill. I have no doubt about that. I think that if we're saying that Richard Allen is bridge guy, then we know because of a little more information that had been shared by the family about some more um, sound that they heard, that there was a gun, that the bridge guy had a gun, and the bridge guy uses the gun to get them to go down the hill. So you go down the hill because it's a gun, right? You're sitting both of there. You're both trying to get down there. Um, in my opinion, I think they tried to run. I think that's why a shoe was lost,
Mm-hmm.
the way it was. Um, just two younger girls trying to get down a steep hill like that is going to move faster than a slightly older person, no matter what. So,
Right.
but with the gun, I don't think the gun would have been used, which we I can't say we know because they haven't revealed murder, but we do know there were stabbings. So, but the gun would have made too much sound to draw attention.
Right. It was just used
So,
for coercion and for the kidnapping aspect of, having them under his control with the gun, and then moving them to wherever, getting them down off the bridge, and directing them wherever he intended for them to go. I don't know if his intention was really to go through the creek like that. That seems a bit ridiculous. I do think you're right about them running, and that's you know it would have been so cold and the water would have been up a bit at that time, from what I have seen, that would have been
Melina,
terrible.
I know that the police have said that the girls did not fight back. I don't know what we know actually from the autopsy report. Um, but I'm going to say that, in my opinion, the only reason that they would try to possibly harm the girls, if it wasn't already intended, is because they fought.
Mhm.
Because if there, let's say there is two people down there, right? Let's say there's two, and Richard Allen's not that big of a guy, and Libby is, I don't remember what Libby's height was, but she was pretty tall for her age. Um, but
And
she was like
she's
200.
athletic. Yeah. Hmm.
So she's a softball player. You're solid when you're a softball player.
Sure enough.
And if one of them started fighting the other one, and around that time, you're talking an hour difference from the bridge picture to when, Mike Patty shows up to pick up the girls.
No, it wasn't Mike. It was
I'm sorry, not Mike Patty. Oh my God, I just had a brain freeze.
I did too. You caused me to lose it.
I'm so sorry.
Well, Libby's dad. We can just say
Yeah,
it that way.
yeah. So he comes to pick them up. There's not a lot of time. You wonder if they suddenly got startled by the phone being buzzed by text. Was it buzzed because he keeps calling them to ask them where they are? Does that startle them? Do the kids fight? And then they're
Uh,
like, we got to keep them quiet,
I hope not.
And
I
so,
bet she had her phone on silent. Let's just say, that. Let's just assume. I would hate to think that, for Derek. Gosh, Derek German, right?
don't ask me now. My mind's gone.
Is that not right?
No, that sounds right.
It's Derek. Why does that sound weird? That's not.
I
It
don't know.
is. It is. It's Derek German. Yeah, and I don't. Yeah. So yeah, maybe he did text. Oh gosh, maybe she had it on silent though. Hopefully, because that would just be terrible for him.
I mean, the only way that I would think notice is because, if you've got somebody there and you don't know what they're trying to do or what they're going to do. And I mean, I guess in my sense, if I'm thinking, hey, my dad is here and he's trying to call me or trying to text me, and I know it's near time for him to get me, I may even tell them that. Hey, that's my dad coming, that's my dad calling, that's
Oh
whatever.
sure, yeah, could. Hmm.
Because that's trying to scare them, trying to scare the guys off of get away from us. Because uh, the I know that by the way, the other day there were people saying, well, why wouldn't he grab the phone? One, he's not going to leave fingerprints on the phone, and two, he's not going to pick up a phone that pings and leave for it to be followed.
Right.
So, you know, and you're right, Kelt. Fighting back means, I also mean that as not cooperating. I'm not saying that she tried to lay punches on him or something. I'm saying that they were not cooperating what was going on. And so, and they'd be worried of, they're going to scream, they're going to be yelling, they're going to draw attention to where we are in the middle of the day, which is so brazen. I mean, you know what I mean? If there is more than one person involved, which I do believe there is, and I mean, in addition to Keegan with Richard, that all of them would feel fine doing this in the middle of the day. Blows my mind.
Me too.
It's
Something so atrocious on a random Monday in the middle of the day. Now I understand it's in the woods and perhaps they had been noticing that the crowd was thinning. There, most of the kids that had been there earlier in the day were gone, and uh, there wasn't anybody to see or hear much. And that is just bold, though. You know, I don't. There are houses right there. It's not like this is a trail, at a state park that's really, miles deep into the woods. This is not like that. It's in the center of town and in part of the town's trail system. The bridge isn't technically part of the trail, but people go there and they hang out underneath the bridge, and it's a thing to do and a place apparently to have your senior pictures made or special occasion photos. And it's
And
it's
I'm sure,
bizarre. It's just a level of just the audacity of that, the bravado that it would take to do this.
yeah, and I'm sure the chat itself has seen uh, photos that were shown of the daughter, their daughter, the Allen's daughter, who had a picture taken way back when she was in high school, because she is a grown adult woman, um, that was on the bridge. And I know that some were respectful enough to block out her face, some not. I don't agree with exposing the daughter out there. Um, that it's not her fault what's going on. But so when we talk about, I mean, that brings up a good thought process, which I'd love to see what the chat out there, what you guys think. So think about this. So you've got, let's just leave it as only Richard Allen. Let's forget about Keegan being sitting in the car or somebody else being there. But Richard Allen himself, which I guess you could think of another, how risky it would be with another person. But would this guy have had to do something like this before? Everybody wondered this before we've arrested anybody. Could this be some type of serial killer going around? Was this some type of attempted kidnapping? Was it some type of sex trafficking, whatever? But let's just go into that he felt okay to go in the woods. And when I say woods, we're not talking giant national park here, people. I'm sure you've seen photos of it. But when we're talking about it, he's going during the day, on a weekday, in the middle of the afternoon, to meet two girls in the park. And then he is having to commit the murder during the day. Could have he done this before? What would make him so brazen to do this now? All right, Amy. Yeah, love God so much. But I know that when school is out and a bunch of the kids are off, they are going to go ask to go hang out and do something together. You know, whether it's to go to the mall or go do something. And it's not that far from um where she lived, where Abby lived. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people bring up Evansdale, and a lot of stuff is being tracked. There are some potential other aliases out there, which I can't 100% confirm yet. So I don't want to throw those out there. Yeah, Patty Davis, I have not seen a paternal side connection to Richard Allen, to Keegan Klein, as far as that's concerned. But for anybody who just joined us, we opened up here with showing the letter that Richard Allen wrote to the courts, asking to throw himself on the mercy of the court to ask for a public defender to be assigned. You can see the printed file. I know it's blurry, that everybody's passing it around everywhere. This is the mail envelope for it. You'll see it pop up here. Sorry, it's a little delayed. Or maybe not. I know what I did. There we go. There it is, sorry. So this is the letter. This is showing when the court receives it, they stamp it, that you'll see here. And then you'll see the envelope postmark at the bottom with his signature. He is talking about it's too expensive for him to afford to even to talk to an attorney on his own, and that him and his wife have both had to leave leave employment, and they've abandoned the house, and that he will not have finances to do anything. And then just to confirm it, because I didn't want to just say that that's for real, he also brought up a court document that it shows that on November 9th, you can see here in the middle, that the correspondence to the court had been filed, that the correspondence received from defendant requested appointment of the public defender. So that confirms that that was received. And we are hoping that that would mean that maybe somebody will come in and make sense to Richard Allen. And if they are trying to catch another person, maybe that'll mean that they would offer him a deal and check if he would, we'll take the death penalty off the table if you tell us the whole story and who was there. Samantha, I'm not sure, I can't say that nobody ever said that they saw the girls. And I'll tell you why I say that. Anybody who's come out forward has said they hadn't seen the girls. But people who were witnesses that day have been protected and kept quiet. And they have not been out for their own protection because of seeing Bridge Guy and if there anybody else, right? So they can't say if they saw, Abby and Libby walk one direction and then all of a sudden Bridge Guy walking one direction, right? So just reading your chat here. Yeah, in my opinion, I think we will also learn eventually, not at the same time at all, about all of the CSAM people who were busted. I'm tracking those as far as for the state of Indiana that have been arrested since Keegan Kline has been arrested. I have a video on some of them that went up to a certain date. and I'm keeping track of the rest of them. But I think we'll hear about, remember, because they said that to him, this will be the largest child petty ring in Indiana's history. And that's why I did the video on the international petty ring that was busted here before. Because if Keegan Klein has one that's bigger than that, that's scary. Especially, how far it can connect, and very, very possible. So, right, Phantom 67, I agree with you. He either could have done this before, or it has been this fantasized thing in his mind that he wanted to do. Let's see. Yeah, Daisy, I saw that he worked at Walmart. And let me share this. He was a lower level manager at Walmart. So his move to Illinois would have not been a forced move. If you're upper level management, like a store manager, or at that time what they used to call a coach, or a co-manager, then they can check with you about transferring, and you can transfer. Otherwise, you can put in for different positions at different stores, but that's for you to apply for and to see if you can get. But his level of management wouldn't have been required that he would have had to transfer from one Walmart store to another. That's not how that works. You're right, Samantha. That was horrible. I couldn't believe it when I started seeing it, that people were doxing the judges and the judge's family. Come on, everybody. What is going on? I mean, we've got people trying to affect the trial. How are we going to get great judges to cover this, good judges to cover this, a fair trial, if people are trying to, rush to force information that I know is normally public? I know the probable cause is normally public, but if it reveals how they found Richard Allen and possibly reveals to another person they're going to catch that they're after them, I have no idea. But let's say it says, we believe Richard Allen participated with 3 other people or 2 other people in this crime of this was what they were trying to do, and blah, 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 then we don't want that released. If they say that they busted him because they found him on the computer through CSAM or through something else, we don't want that information released if it's going to hurt the case or hurt an additional arrest. We don't want that. And to endanger the judge's family and kids, for what? They haven't done anything. That judge is trying to make sure this guy gets his trial and goes to jail. Right? A fair trial and goes to jail. I don't understand it. I wish somebody would explain that to me. Yes, his wife and them got married very young, right out of high school. Yes, Evil CJ, it is bigger. I think there's a lot more behind this case than we're going to realize, and it's going to be more than that. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat, catching up. Yeah, we want to protect the witnesses, and I'm glad that's happened so far. Um, we've had witnesses of different ages. Yeah, I believe that, Patty. I believe that Richard Allen is the guy walking on the bridge, in my opinion. He's at least the closest I've seen. Yeah, you know what? I agree. My curiosity is if this has happened, if he's done something like this before, because how brazen it is during the day, middle of the afternoon, a park where people can be walking by, right? I mean, that he could have done something before. Maybe he committed assaults before and he never got turned in. We have cases of missing teenage girls that I have been looking into to just see if there's any similarities of some girls who have been missing who are 16, 17, 18 years old who are missing. So, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that, Daisy. He probably was forced to go find another store, Daisy, but I don't know that they would not usually transfer somebody that far. If he's an associate that has that problem and there's reported problems, and maybe only a couple people reported a problem when he worked there at the Walmart store. And so they moved him thinking, they were going to move him thinking they would get him away from that person. But he decides to move all the way to Illinois. Why? What was he moving from? They would not call Illinois to transfer him. He could apply for a job there and check if there's an opening, and then he requests a transfer. But Walmart itself will not transfer him. Yeah, you have to be careful what Richard Allen's you're looking at. There's a lot of that name is common. I do think, let's see, there's a lot of questions in that common question. I do think that, when Doug Carter says he can't answer, remember, is there more people involved? I can't answer that. Are the clients involved? I can't answer that. The case still open? Yep, we're still taking tips and information. So that's why the tip line and email address is going across the bottom. They are still taking tips and information, any types of tips and information that you could share if you have any. Right. The attorney thing is going to help us, I think, to see if there's any possibility of of him talking. Either to save his own butt. No, I'll take that back. Only to save his own butt will he tell what happened or tell everybody who's involved in case they're getting somebody else. Because I think if Keegan said there was somebody else, or Keegan says, I just stayed in the car, wouldn't they need Richard Allen to say, yes, he only stayed in the car? Or yes, he's right, this other person was with us? Because Are you going to take the testimony of Keegan Klein as the truth in court, that he's saying somebody else did it? Probably not. Yes, love God so much. People do have to mortgage their homes and stuff for it, but I don't think he's looking to do that. Yeah, I've seen the creepy Walmart photo of him laying down in a shelf. So, well, I appreciate you guys coming on. I know this was a quick throw together, but I did want to get the information out to you, let you know about this letter, let you know about that the court has confirmed they received the letter, and that he is now going to be assigned a public defender, sorry. And hopefully it will engage him prior to the 22nd, or at least prior to his pretrial. And please don't think this is going to happen quickly, because look how long this Keegan Klein stuff has gone on. I appreciate all of you here. Oh, that's right. I almost forgot. We have reached our 200 subscribers first goal. Yay. Awesome. Okay, so this is going to be done by the first person to reply a number. What you're doing is you're going to give me a number, and I'm going to go through we're going to go through the subscribers and find out who is assigned this number, who in that number that they joined. So I need a number between 1 and 204. Oh, Evil CJ 1, Phantom 67, you were right there. All right, so 31. So mods, if you can remember 31, we're going to search that number. And we're going to do another goal that we are going to let all of you, except the winner, cannot re-enter. So we're going to go, when we hit 500, we're going to give away another 6-month subscription to Discovery Plus. It includes the ID channel, and all you have to be is subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Definitely hit the like button for me, and share our videos and information. Tell your friends. We love to have these discussions with you and talk about the cases. I have a case that we're going to be covering. I think I have it on Friday, that started me in true crime. And I really want to share that case with you guys. And I really appreciate you all being here. It means a lot to me. So thank you guys very much. Keep up the good work, and let's make sure that justice is served daily. Good night, everybody.